Okay, yay, it's working again. Thanks, YouTube. Welcome, everyone. If you're watching live or if you are catching the replay, um, I cannot pull up the live right now, but I'll check it in a little bit. But yeah, if you're watching the replay, have any questions at all, even though this is already pre-recorded, you can just type them in the comments and I'll come back and answer them or point toward the episode on Spotify and Apple and all the places. But yeah, let's get into it. Dolly, welcome to the show. I'm excited to chat with you. Just like our pre-show banter, I was like, this is going to be a fun episode. We're going to have a good time. Which you're also a podcaster, so that helps that you're like comfortable behind the mic and on video. But yeah, welcome to the show.
John, thank you so much for having me. I said this before, I really am honored to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm honored to have you here. And I'm excited about our topic today about pre-launching and everything. I know for me, like this is still something that I'm trying to train myself in because I'm very like, what is it, golden retriever, like the squirrel. And like, I'm just like, oh, I want to do this. Let me go put this thing together and like make a PDF or whatever. And then just, hey, I have this thing and just launch it out there, just cold launch, no warm up anything. And you can imagine how well those go off. But but I'm excited to talk about that because I know that there are definitely some listeners that are the same kind of just, get super excited about something and you want to launch it right now today as soon as you've hit like export on your video. It's like, cool, I have a course, go buy it. But yeah, could you give us a little background on you and what you do, where you're based and all that?
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Dolly DeLong, and I am primarily a family photographer based in Middle Tennessee. I've lived in Middle Tennessee since 2007-ish, and I've been a photographer since 2008. So it's been quite the journey for me. And then as far as education side, I have had my I'm a systems and workflow and launch educator, and I've been doing that since 2020. And I bet all the listeners could probably guess why it started in 2020 because I had to pivot a little in my business because in where I'm from, there were shutdowns of all sorts, and I could not go and be a service provider, which, I am an avid rule follower. I'm like, okay, I don't want to make anybody mad at me. And so, and I don't want to be fined or anything. So I found another stream of income that people were like needing to learn about systems and work. I didn't know that it was called systems and workflows. I just thought it was called being organized because I am naturally organized. So I was like, okay, I can teach you that. And from there, it kind of just naturally snowballed into me figuring out, okay, maybe I need to teach systems, workflows, SOPs to business owners to teach them how to run their business. And then around 2021, 2022, I've had several business owners who are good friends now say, you just need to teach about launching because you're really organized and good about launching. And listeners, it's not like that I'm a 6, 7, 8-figure business owner like launching all the time. It's just that I'm really organized and really good about putting together a pre-launch and helping like aid business owners in that. So I just want to be super clear with everyone about that.
Yeah, you're not like, okay, yeah, I'm just like making 9 figures off of every single launch. Like everyone listen to me.
Exactly. So that's a little bit about my background.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, no, I love like organization can go so far. Like I feel like with the rise of TikTok over the last 4 or 5 years, I have learned so much. Like my wife and I will just like share reels and TikToks. She's still on Instagram. She's like every now and then she'll get a TikTok and she's like, "Can you look up this username because I want to see this whole thing."
Yes,
that and on Threads too. But like we'll just share videos with each other of like how to organize your refrigerator so that you're not like all your produce isn't going bad because it's just like hidden in a little pull-out drawer. But it's like, yeah, we have our produce in the door. instead
Yes.
of the snacks. And now we just reach for that because we're like, oh yeah, we got to make something with Brussels sprouts.
I love that. That's so
Yeah.
smart.
But yeah, it's like just like little things, little organizational tips and strategies can go so far in your life and in your business and all that. And I love that you've kind of honed that in, taken that natural, like you said, you're naturally very organized. Are you a firstborn?
I'm an only child.
Oh, okay. So yes. Yes, yes, kind of to the extreme.
Yes.
I'm a firstborn. I have one younger brother, and I am just like very much rule follower, very
Mhm.
much a an organized, like this makes sense to do it this way, so I'm going
Mhm.
to do it this way. And I'm like just now in my 30s learning to like it's okay to like step outside the line a little bit
Yes.
every now and then.
And
Uh
that's so hard. I married another like very much like a structured rule follower, and
mhm.
we have two sons, and our firstborn is very much like us, and we're like, "Oh, we are such good parents." Like he is so good at listening. And then our second came and we're like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, what is wrong with him? What's wrong with us?"
Just the feral child
Yes.
making their own way through everything like I'm just gonna do it this way.
Yes, so we're like, "Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, what is wrong?" But yeah, it's
yeah,
definitely yeah.
yeah, it's very interesting. Our first is like that too, very much same as us, very
Yes.
very rule follower,
Mhm.
very much like tries to parent his younger sisters a
Yes.
lot, of
Yes.
just like, hey, if you don't do this, you're not going to get a show later. And I'm
Yes.
like, you are correct. However, you don't have to be dad right now.
Yes.
Dad is here. I can help.
Yes. We tell that
Yeah.
to our oldest. We're like, "You don't have to parent your brother, you can just be his brother,
Hmm.
and we will discipline him." And he's
Yeah.
like, it's so hard for him.
Yeah.
It's cute, but it's
Yeah.
hard.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But no, I love that. Like you've taken that and now sharing that with others who maybe that does not come super easily, super readily available of like, okay, these are the steps. This is
Yes.
how I'm gonna do it. It's like, oh, I can talk to Dolly. I can learn this and now implement some things. So
Yes.
like from your experience, what does a launch look like when you don't have a pre-launch? What is it? I mean, is it like my just like my golden retriever, here's a squirrel, let me go sell it kind of thing?
Well, I will say, like, to make you feel 110% better, because John, I am the same. Like, being a photographer, there is that creative
Hmm.
side to my
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah.
And when I get an idea, I tend like I've learned how to hone it in, but I want to create it just then and there because the idea is there, the spark is there, and I want to
Yeah.
run after that spark, and I'm worried I'll forget about it. So I get it, listeners. I don't want people to be like, "Wow, she's so like structured and like stringent, and she doesn't like to have fun." No, like I love having fun in my business, but I have noticed that if we are just constantly chasing this part again, there's a balance. There's
Hmm.
nothing wrong with like chasing that idea, chasing that spark, or um but if we are only ruled by that in our business, we're not going to get anything done. And also, we won't discipline ourselves enough to have a, I don't want to say, like, say you have to be so disciplined to have a strategic and successful launch, because I've seen it on both ends, but you will feel a little bit more calm, like in your business, and less
Hmm.
chaotic when you do allow yourself to have the guardrails of a different phases of a launch, a planned out launch. And I'm not saying like it needs to be like 6 months of planning and then 3 months of execution. That's intense.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like it's okay to have guardrails, and then at the same time you can still allow yourself to be creative. Like there's a balance.
That's good. Yeah, because like that 6 month pre-launch, like this is the date that we're going to do this. This is
Yeah.
the like that can feel very boxed in and very
Yes.
much like, oh, now my creative juices are all gone and I have been squeezed out and I'm just like sitting here. And yeah, I love that there's like, this is structure.
Yeah.
This is something to take away that like that anxiety of, okay, let's just get it out there and now, people will hopefully buy it or sign up or whatever. But having that structure of, okay, these are the next steps that I need to take, and you can always take a little step off the path, depending on like how you're feeling and all that. But you,
Exactly.
you still have that like a lit path, like you're walking at night through, I don't know, like some national park or something, and they have
Yes.
like the little um, what are the solar powered
Yes.
lights that just kind of light up your path.
Yeah.
It's like
I
you
can
can
see
still
it
get
in my
back to the
mind.
path.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
still get back to the path. If you want to go check out whatever, just get off of it a little bit. But it's there to guide you. So
Yeah.
no, I love that.
And not to like for listeners or and viewers, I'm not trying to be like a negative Nancy or to bring anybody down. Like I'm putting myself here too, but we are not Taylor Swift and we are not Beyonce.
Mhm.
Those are two like celebrities and artists that come to mind, like who I know have like dropped something overnight in the past and it sold like hotcakes and
Yeah.
and it just like sold out. And you have to remind yourself like we are not them because they have like a giant team and they are have been marketing their brand for years, sometimes decades. I remember Beyonce when she was Destiny's Child when I was 17 years old. Like
Yep.
she has been doing that for years. And I like sometimes we as creative business owners, we get so wrapped up in, well, I know I have a following and whatever I post, they'll buy tomorrow. Like we get that confidence and it's great to have that following and that brand recognition, but we should like come down a little bit and not assume, okay, if I drop it, then tomorrow it'll be sold out. I just know it. I mean,
Right.
maybe that sounds negative, but I'd like to be a little bit realistic with myself and with others.
Yeah, and especially like if you do have a larger following and you did do that where you just
Yeah.
like, dropped a workshop or dropped a course or something and then it sold out immediately and then
Yeah.
you're like, "Okay, cool. I'm going to do this again." And then you drop it again and it's crickets.
Yeah.
Like that hurts.
Yes. It
And it's like,
does.
"Oh, am I even supposed to be doing this now? Was
Yeah,
that a fluke?"
exactly. And it might not be a fluke. It's just that the beauty of a pre launch, you
Mm,
are like planting seeds slowly in your audience's ears in a very strategic way to then when you actually open the doors of your launch of your cart, then people are like, okay, I'm primed and I'm ready to buy. And so
yeah.
there is just like there's not like a blueprint to do it, but there's strategy and how you can prime your audience depending upon like what you're selling, who you're talking to, what your audience wants. There's
Mhm.
yeah,
Could you talk a little bit more about that priming and like
yes.
what that looks like, what priming looks like versus like what no priming at all would look
Yeah.
like?
Yeah, definitely. I love using this example and I hope this like resonates with the audience, but um when hopefully like you'll pick up what I'm putting down. So
Okay.
you and I both have children, and
Mhm.
I'm assuming your some of your children are they school age? Like, are they in school?
Yeah, they're 3, 6, and 9 right now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I have a almost 6 year old and a almost 2 year old, so we're a little overlap.
Cool.
So for my oldest, who started kindergarten this year, um, he did not like when we went to like we go to Costco at least once a week because it's like a big thing for all of us. But
Oh, yeah.
we love it.
Real
But
quick about Costco. Do they
yeah,
love going in the cold, like the refrigerated
oh,
room?
all the time,
That's
all the
all that
time.
my kids ask for.
Yes,
It's like
yes,
that and pizza.
yeah,
But yeah, it's just like,
yeah,
"Can we go in the cold room?" Like,
yeah,
Sure, yeah, we
yeah.
need strawberries. That's cool."
It's like the cold room and then also the samples and the
Oh,
not pizza but the hot dogs. They're like,
yeah.
"Can we get a hot dog?" I'm like, wow, like you guys are like the best cheap dates ever. I love
Right?
this. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's $1.50 for,
Yeah.
like, a hot dog and a drink? Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
and we, like, split it 3 ways. We're like, "Let's share it," and they love it. I'm like,
That's
"This is the best.
perfect.
I'm the best mom," but,
Yep.
anyways, I'm sure there's a listener like, "Why are you feeding your kid hot dogs?" But, it's just once a week, okay?
They're pretty good quality, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
at
they're good.
Costco.
Yeah, they're really good.
They're alive. We're good.
But, like, just going, like, to the big box companies. So, in
Mm,
starting in so in May, we're like, okay, like we know we're going into summer. Just want to start thinking about summer, but back to school like came immediately, like where I live, like in June and July, and so that
yeah,
started priming us to be like, oh, we need to buy this for his kindergarten class. We need to, like. And the big box companies, like again, like Target and Walmart and Costco and Sam's, wherever, they made it really easy for us to, as parents, to be primed to be prepared to buy in June, July, and August. In August, where I'm from, that's like you're a last minute shopper if you
mhm,
are like buying things for school supplies. And then the same goes, we right now when we're recording this, it's September, and Costco has been priming us to buy for Halloween since July.
oh, yeah.
And it's like, so if the big, what I'm trying to say is, if the big box companies are priming you to think about 2, maybe even 3 seasons ahead, then why can't we as business owners help our audience to think at least 1 season ahead, so that when we start announcing, like as photographers, when we start announcing our mini sessions, or if we have a digital product that we want to launch, like why can't we start not just like full on talking about, but like hinting at it in our
Yeah.
content, or talking about objections, or like just slowly easing our audience to just like be more primed to buy. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. No, total sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the 3rd thing that my kids love at
Yeah.
Costco right now is the giant werewolf,
Yes.
and,
Yes.
like, it doesn't even do anything, it just
Yeah.
opens his mouth, but they love it,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
I was expecting it to, like, lurch down at him or something,
Yeah.
but no, like, we see that with the big box stores where
Yep.
they are priming us.
Yes.
They're getting us ready. We're getting those emails of back to school in
Yes.
the middle of summer. It's like, oh yeah, I
Yes.
guess I do need to start thinking about that. And, got a long list of all the school supplies we need to
Hmm.
get. Let's go ahead and do that before everything is wiped out and nobody has any glitter and glue.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And like again, like these are necessity items for our kids or for the season, but some of the items are not necessity items. Like that giant like wolf is not a
Yeah.
necessity item, but because that they are showing this, like I know listeners and watchers are like, a wolf, what? But it's such a silly item, but the more they sell it, show it, the more
Hmm.
you're like, "Oh, maybe I do need this for my front yard because it brings so much, like, joy to my kids," or it
Oh yeah.
I don't know, like,
I mean,
it's
think
being
about those
yeah.
like 12-foot tall skeletons
Yes.
from like 2020 whenever
Yes.
everyone was buying those at Lowe's,
Yes.
and just like these giant, taller than your house skeletons, and now they're all over the place. And
Exactly.
you can get them at Walmart, and
Yeah.
it's like it's something you see it more and more. You're like, do I need one? I think
Yes.
I need
I
one.
think I
Yeah.
need it. Yeah. And like my son is now starting to ask, "Can we buy one of these for our house?" And of course, my husband and I are
Mhm.
like, "No, this is not necessary." But the
Right.
fact that like, I mean, they're already priming my son to want to buy all these things for ourselves. And so
Yeah.
it's just, I'm like, I always take that into consideration when I'm looking at my business. I'm like, what can I learn from these companies and how can I apply it to my own business? Because I have 2 sides to my business.
Mhm.
Again, photography, and then the service based side of systems workflow education. I'm like, okay, how can I start year round, like educating my listeners and my audience about the importance of pre launch and just launching in a more strategic way? And then for my photography side of my business, I am I do a lot of mini sessions year round. And so I try to map out, okay, with my marketing, I map out my content, like how I'm going to pair it with my marketing, and then how it can act like a domino effect to where people are booking my mini sessions months in advance because I'm planting the seed in their head. So
Mhm.
what I'm trying to get at is how are you going? It's really important to, again, I'm probably stressing somebody out by saying this, but how can you merge your marketing with like your content together to act as a domino to prime people to like take out their wallets when you actually open up the cart open phase? And I'm using my hands a lot, and I'm like, somebody's gonna be stressed out, so I'm just gonna hold my hands like this.
I do the same thing. I have to
Yeah,
have my hands in my
yeah,
pockets, and I'm like, I have a standing desk, so I'm like,
yes,
at least I'm not like up here all the time. But
yes,
yeah, no, I do the same thing. I'm like, I just feel like I'm so distracting on video. But no, you're totally good, and I'm sure people love it. It's fun, and it's like it's changing up the scene.
yes,
But could you speak a little bit more on? You mentioned like this. The way of priming, but like subtly to where
yes,
it's not just like you're priming and you're talking about your mini sessions that are coming up this, like for holiday minis or something. And you're not just like, hey, I'm going to be doing these in November.
yes.
So, save the date or get on my wait list or whatever. It's not like direct call to action, but more of like that the kind of
Subtle.
hinting subtle, because I know like for myself that's a little bit more difficult for me to think of, to
Yes,
like subtly sneak in some things to kind of like make them start thinking about it,
yeah,
instead of just like, hey, I'm going to be doing this, so
yeah.
get ready.
So for photography, for example, because I'm actually in the middle of this right now and creating content and producing content. So my content for photography is mostly blogs because everything's very visual.
Hmm.
So I sit down. I honestly, in a perfect world, I'd be posting a blog a week, but I have the capacity to do two blogs a month. And then I lean heavily into email marketing. So what I do is I think about, okay, in these blog posts, I'm obviously like, I am going to do a call to action to invite them to work with me and contact me. Okay, yes, I will do that because blogs are evergreen in my mind. Like they're going
Yes.
to be
Yeah.
living um on my website. But I also think, okay, this is in a way a seasonal blog because it's talking about fall, so seasonal and evergreen. So, what is something that in July or August, a parent like myself, because I'm a mom, I am a like I do serve clients who have kids my age. I'm like, okay, as a mom, what am I thinking about in July and August besides it being excruciatingly hot and I'm wishing it was fall? Outside of that, I'm thinking as a mom, okay, like where like what do I want to do for my family photos, because that's what I do. Like I plan the
Hmm.
family photos, I like plan events for my family, to my husband's dismay of like, how much money are we going to spend? So I'm like, okay, I need to plan this all out. So I think, oh, maybe I can write a blog post on how to plan for your fall, like what fall locations should you consider shooting at in Nashville? Because I'm a Nashville based family photographer. So I write a blog post about that. And it just talks about locations. And
Hmm.
then a next blog post is talking about outfits, like how to plan outfits. And that not only helps the future mom like out with planning outfits, but also, okay, like I need to start thinking about where I need to buy these outfits. So if I don't do this. Maybe I should. Like linking like Amazon links with my affiliate. Like I know smarter people do that, but I don't do that. Okay. Like I'm just like using my blog to prime them to start think like just thinking about
Yeah.
planning a fall family session, specifically where in Nashville, what to wear, what mini sessions look like versus a big session, what time of year in the fall, like because there are certain dates where there's more foliage, I can't say the word, versus just like what look are they going for. So I look at all the facets of a fall family shoot, and then I create block. Just, I mean, I really hope that makes sense for you.
Oh yeah, it
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense, and I know that like there are definitely some listeners that are like, okay, I don't blog and
yeah,
I don't really nurture my email list.
no,
And this is another one of those signs. I know you've probably heard it a lot, and
yeah,
I talk about it a ton, that like blogging and email lists are huge
yes,
in moving the needle forward in your business. I love that you mentioned that like blogs are evergreen, because
hmm,
I still get hits off of blogs from 5 years ago
yes.
that I'm like, I should probably go in there and like up
Optimize
up
it. Yeah,
yeah, optimize it, and also like switch out for some recent photos.
yeah,
Because I'm like, oh yeah, that is 5 years ago, John editing. But like they're still evergreen to where people are going to be, whenever they're searching online, it's gonna pop up.
yeah,
And in every season you can also point people back toward that blog and like, oh hey, yeah, this is a great one for finding a good spot to take photos in Nashville,
yeah,
or a wardrobe guide, so you don't just like blend in and look like you're wearing camo,
yeah,
and like that kind of stuff is like, yeah, these are really helpful things people are going to be searching for, and it's priming them to one, like brand recognition. They're going to see you and like
yeah.
maybe even on multiple searches be like, oh wait, that was, yeah, I think I saw Dolly, like this other one that I looked at, a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Let me see if she's available or doing some mini sessions this season.
Yeah. Can I get on my soapbox for just a little bit about email
Please,
marketing?
please,
Oh man,
absolutely.
I've ruffled a few feather. I've ruffled one feather. One person got mad at me because I said it's important to grow your email list, and they were like, they got really mad at me, and they wrote an email like, this doesn't apply to me. I was like,
Very
okay,
ironic
I
that they
know.
wrote you an email.
I was like, okay, that's fine.
Emails don't work
I
as I'm
know.
replying to your email about email lists.
I know, it still like cracks me up to this day. Like, but listeners, like, if you do whatever long form content you decide to use, like, I know we keep on using photographers as an example, but photographers, you are like at a great spot because you can showcase your work visually because people
Mhm.
need to connect with you visually. But then with your blogging, like, you can also optimize your blog post for SEO, search engine optimization. Like, how do your ideal audiences search for what you provide in Google, like without, like, so that you can come up? So what key terms are they using? And I'm not saying keyword stuff, but use keywords effectively in each blog post, and then
Mhm.
invite them. Don't say join my newsletter because that's so vanilla. Like, although I do love vanilla, I'm not trying to like downplay that. That's, but just don't be
It's not
boring.
enticing at all.
Yes,
It's like,
yeah.
join my newsletter. What's on your
I
newsletter?
know,
Why would
why
I
should
join this? Yeah.
it's instead, like, maybe, like, invite them to plan out their, if they are if they're family again, how can they easily plan out a wardrobe without, like, fighting with their spouse or arguing with their kids about what to wear? Like, do you have a guide, or do you have a private audio training, or whatever, or a video series, like, whatever your lead magnet is, have that on all of your blog posts that have to do with your service. And that way you're growing out your email list and they're getting to know you while they're also reading your blog. But I encourage listeners to be intentional with their long form content and make sure that they're growing their email list while they're creating that content, while they're priming their audience to that, like, to that open launch phase.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I think it's such an overlooked area of marketing and
Yeah.
nurturing your clients, because like social media, it's flashy and it's fun, and it's
Yes.
like it's here and you're scrolling and you're like, people are gonna love this, I'm gonna get so many likes. It's that I don't know, is it dopamine? It's a hit of one of
Dopamine.
those. Okay,
Dopamine.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's that dopamine hit of, ooh, someone else liked it, oh hey, I got a comment, someone shared to a story, and it's like that, it's that immediate feel good
Yes.
of this something is happening. But like, is that actually moving your business forward? Are those 50 likes on that photo doing anything? Is it
Yeah.
selling anything? When you got 50 people opening your email, they are more likely going to be in a headspace to buy and purchase in their email than they would through social media.
Yeah, exactly. And I do want to say, in terms of launching, so you're probably like, listeners are like, okay, Dolly went off on a tangent about email marketing and
Mm,
about content marketing. What does this have to do with the pre-launch and priming your audience? So, in terms of priming your audience, if you're creating content that are answering like objections to lead people to get to know your product more, or answering like different FAQs even about your product without telling them, hey, I'm going to sell you something in like 8
right.
weeks or
Yeah.
5 weeks. Um, you are answering different facets. You're kind of like helping them overcome like a mini hill before going on
Hmm.
to the next question. And then also, you're hopefully adding them to your email list to nurture them on the back end, because hopefully you have at least one nurture sequence set up. But okay, let me pause. I'm so sorry. I'm like, where was I oh, it's just like it's another puzzle piece
Yeah.
in nurturing your audience, instead of just like, I don't know, just like opening the doors to your pre-launch, to your actual like product, and then hoping for the best, versus if you give your audience, let's say, 4 to 5 weeks of that nurturing content, they're more primed to buy.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And like they feel like you mentioned, kind of like removing all those barriers.
Yes.
Like there's no pre-launch and you're just like, hey, doors are open. Come buy this thing. I have an offer. They may have those hangups of, well, I don't know if I want to do many sessions because I don't even know what to wear and
Yes.
all that. But like you've already knocked out that barrier because you had been talking about your wardrobe guide, and now they're
Yeah.
like, okay, I know what to wear whenever I have photos. And like you're slowly moving all the barriers out of the way, so they just have this clear path to working with you. And I love that.
And one thing I was just thinking about, like, a listener, a viewer might be thinking, well, Dolly, what about price objections? Like, that's always going to be an objection. I don't even
Hmm.
care like how much your program is or how much your photography session is. There's always going to be somebody that's going to like butt heads with you about a price objection. So maybe create content about that price objection during like the week before or the week of. Also like to create content about what would their life look like if they did purchase versus if they didn't. Not to like,
Hmm.
again, be negative or fear mongering, but a good example of this was one of my last clients, not last clients, but earlier this year. I had a client who is an eight is an ADHD coach. There, I can say it, for teens. And this was like all brand new for me, because I don't know anything about coaching teens with
Right.
ADHD, but she does. So one of my things that I asked her during our pre-launch kickoff call, I was like, okay, educate me on like, if I found out my son had ADHD and he's 13, and like, how do I navigate it with him, versus if I was like, no, I'm not gonna take care of it. I'm not like, we'll just like kick the can down the line and hope he grows out of it,
Uh,
versus. And so like when I helped her reframe that, like, because the information was in her head, and so of course she knew this is important to share with families with teens with ADHD. So I extracted out of her, okay, let's pull on that thread and share with a parent like, hey, a parent who is on the fence about investing in her group program, but they're like, I don't know if this is worth it. Well, then what's going to happen to your 13-year-old? Imagine what's life going to be like for him or her next year if there's no like if you don't take any steps towards ADHD education for your home and for him or her,
Mhm.
versus like if you took action now, what could, let me paint a picture of what that could look like for you. And so from there, we created like just like so much content from that, and it helped paint a picture for her own audience that they were like, we're ready to buy whatever group program you have for us. And she
Right.
sold out within like when her cart opened. I was like so proud of her, and she had no idea like she had those stories in her. I mean,
Yeah.
she knew she had it in her, but she was like, "Oh, like I didn't realize I could like use these stories and help paint a picture to visualize, like help them visualize better."
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's, like, so many of those gems that are
Yeah.
already inside, you've got them, you're probably already talking about that
Yes.
with, like, especially, like, other industry professionals where you're just like, "Oh, yeah, I wish people knew about this," or "This
Yeah.
is always a problem whenever I have people doing this." It's like, speaking about those things, because
Yes.
like, I think I'm neurotypical, I have never been tested or anything, there are a
Yes.
couple uh like semi things anyway. I've never been tested. I also grew up in the 90s, so it
Oh,
was like very
yes.
much they will grow out of it mentality.
Mhm. Yeah.
And just like we have friends who have children with ADHD, ours probably do.
Yeah.
But like there are things that I have learned just from people creating content about like this is why it's difficult
Mhm.
for children with ADHD to do this thing, and this is how you can guide them to do this. I'm like, "Well, that's amazing. That's so
Yeah.
great." And like the way that that they were able to use that content, that knowledge to prime their audience, like they were already giving them value.
Yeah.
So then it was like, you already gave me value. I'm going to like I know that there's going to be more behind the paywall if you're already giving me value for free. Uh,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly. And so I want to encourage listeners and viewers like, what are you so good at that you assume like, oh, that people already know? They probably don't know. And like
yeah,
you need to extract that from your brain, and then how can you use that to like prime your audience to buy from you? Not again, this is not manipulative marketing. This is not like, I'm not asking you or telling you to manipulate. I'm asking you and telling you to like, how can you educate? How can you like answer some like objection questions? Like really, I want you to put your creative hat on, because we're, most of us are creatives in
hmm
this space, and we like, how can we paint, cast a vision for them? Like what is their life going to look like after they work with us? Like how can we like help them get to that point? And photographers, you are at a great space because you can visually showcase to them what it would be like to work with you. So how can you guide them along the way to the booking process?
yeah, yeah. No, it's I think that for myself, it's difficult for me. Like I'm really good about putting my creative hat on.
Yeah.
It's more difficult to take my creative hat off
Yeah.
and like put on the hat of my clients and where they are outside the industry. They know nothing. They
Yes.
know, oh, that's a fancy looking camera. That probably takes good pictures. And like having to think about, okay, what would, because I've done this for over a decade now. I know what I'm doing. It's second nature. I don't have to think about these things, but what are the things that my clients, that my target audience would be hung up on? What are the
Yes.
things that they would get stuck on that would cause them not to go through with the sale?
Yeah.
And like I think that is just being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes is monumental. Just in life in general,
Yes.
and understanding other people. But yeah, for sure, in like creating that pre-launch of what are some things that would be really helpful to like those barriers again, moving all the barriers out of the way so that they are ready to purchase whenever your doors are open.
And another thing to think about, like when we're recording this again, it's September, and what I have already been primed for is to think about the holidays. Like,
Hmm.
just because I have children, I'm like thinking about, okay, Santa minis. Okay, I need like, what outfits am I going to buy the boys? Like, what is their Christmas list? Like, again, to my husband's dismay, I'm just like, we need to like plan ahead. And so, but in terms of business and strategy, like for photographers, I don't want you to start talking about holiday prints in November and December. I want you to start talking about prints in September, so that your audience can tangibly understand what they're going to do with their prints, for not just like to mail off their Christmas cards, but like how can they use their prints from you for
Hmm.
Christmas presents, or for those, like, because those are big ticket items, and they need to plan ahead to budget for that. And so in terms of, like, I know you may not be launching your a print, like a print sale, but you may want to consider just talking, like just priming your audience now to think about how are they going to use their photos when they book for you with you for their October or November, because that's like when a lot of family photographers, that's like their tax season, like their
Oh
busy
yeah.
season.
Yeah.
And so how can you prime your audience now to start thinking about how they're going to use their photos versus just getting the gallery and then crickets, like crickets. You need to
Yeah.
start helping them paint the picture of getting excited before they actually have the photos on, like in an online gallery. Like, help them to plan ahead. And then the second thing I want to say, I know I just have so sorry, John. I just like
No, I love
once you,
this. This is so good.
once you get me started about pre-launch, I'm like, I can't stop. Okay, so this is something I learned from Ashlyn Carter. I feel like a lot of people know her in our online
Hmm.
space for being a copywriter for creatives. Well, I met her earlier this year, which I was like totally fangirling, and I was trying to hold myself in, rein myself in. But I've learned so much from her through my own business journey, and I went up to her and I let her know, like, about I was planning a launch at the time, and I was expressing like, Ashlyn, like, because I know she's been through so many launches, and I was asking her launch data questions, all this stuff. But she shared this great piece of advice, not just with me, but other people. And she said, if you feel like you are repeating yourself over and over and over again, because that's essentially what you're doing during a pre-launch. You're repeating yourself in different ways.
Hmm.
You are barely, and you feel like you're screaming, you're barely whispering in reality.
Yeah.
Like, barely, because of the algorithm. I mean, again, not to be negative about the algorithm, but really your list is like maybe 1 to 3% is seeing it on Instagram or TikTok. I don't know how TikTok works, so I'm not going to talk about that. But um, I I know, like, for a fact, Instagram's like 3%, maybe 5%
Yeah.
if you're really. And so you need to be consistent in your cadence during a pre-launch. So decide ahead of time, like, how are you going to show up? Be consistent with that. Set guardrails for yourself. Okay, how are you going to show up with your content? Be consistent with that. And consistency does pay off. People may not see your email, but they may see your Instagram post, or they may not see your Instagram story, but they may see your blog. And so if you feel like you're being so loud, so repetitive, you're not. The only
Yeah.
person noticing is you and maybe, like, your top fan. That's it.
Right. Yeah. The person that's always in there, just like
Yes.
2 seconds after you post, just like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I love
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So,
I
yes.
mean, there have been people that I follow, that I interact with their things, that I open their emails. Like, I am a fan, and then I don't see anything about an offer that they're launching until like a sponsored ad comes through, and I'm like, wait, what? And then I
Yeah.
have to like go to their profile, and I see that they've been talking about it, but for whatever reason it has been missing
Yes.
me.
Yes.
And like, I love that, like, if you feel like you're screaming, you are
You're
just barely
whispering.
whispering.
Yes.
Because it does feel like that. And me, like, I'm a recovering people pleaser, so like that, that screaming thing, I'm just like by the time I say it like 3 times, I'm like, this is probably enough, right? People have heard. I don't want to force this down your throats. Like you're good. You've heard what I'm doing. Just show up.
Yes.
But it's like no, like especially with the amount of information that's coming to us, because it used to be like you get in front of someone like 7 times and then they're ready to purchase, and now it's like
Yeah. Now
22 something
that
like
was
that. Yeah,
22,000. I'm
yeah,
just kidding.
22,000. Yeah, just all the time you've got to get out there.
Yes.
And yeah, it might be annoying for your biggest fan, but probably also not annoying for them, because they're just like cheering you on and like, oh yeah, Dolly, I see that post about holiday minis again.
Yeah.
I'm gonna share this one again.
Yeah.
And yeah, like that's, you're not annoying people.
Yes.
It's this is something that I wish I would have known so much earlier in life, is that a lot of times whenever you're thinking that someone is being annoyed by your posts, or is just like not enjoying it, and you're just you know you're in your mind you're creating a worse version of them than in
Yes.
reality, and it's actually like that's a pretty mean thing for you to do to them, is just being like, they're actually enjoying it, but you're like, I'm sure that you're annoyed by this.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, just post it. Just
Yeah.
get that pre-launch plan set up, and all that. But yeah, no, Dolly, this has been so much great information.
Oh.
So good. I've loved talking. I just looked down. I'm like 45 minutes already. This
Oh.
is insane how quickly this has gone. But before we kind of wrap up and give people like where they can find you online and listen to your podcast and all that, there is part of the show that I like to do where we talk about what we're loving this week.
Yes.
It can be literally anything. What are you loving this week?
Okay, so this has nothing to do with business and
Perfect.
everything to do with the season of Halloween.
Mm,
So I have, like I shared earlier, I have a almost 6-year-old and an almost 2-year-old, and they're boys, and they are all boy, like wild, crazy, feral boys.
yeah.
And so I've discovered that if I take them to Lowe's and to Home Depot and to the Spirit Halloween store, because of the Halloween decorations. Like we had spoken about, like
Mhm.
Costco with the werewolf. Like go to take your kids to Home Depot because it's like Costco to like the extreme with Halloween decorations. They beg me to take them to Lowe's all the time.
Yeah.
They're like, "Can we just go?" And it's for me, it's so sweet and funny to see their excitement. And you all, it's free and
Mhm.
it's cheap date, again, a cheap date. And it my 2-year-old like sings. It's so weird. He knows the word Halloween. He like sings about Halloween. I'm like, should he like learn other words? And I'm like, yeah, it's okay. It's fine.
That's
Um
great.
but that's what I'm loving, just watching how excited they are about this
Mhm.
upcoming season, and it's just so innocent and sweet, and it makes me and my husband laugh, and it just makes me so happy as a mom.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
love that. I remember last fall season, we had gone to Home Depot or Lowe's, one of those
Yeah.
two, for something. It was like, we needed new light bulbs or like a pipe or something like
Yeah.
that. And we just walked in, and like to the left was just all animatronic
Yes.
Halloween
Yes.
things. And we spent probably almost an hour there.
Just touching the buttons,
Yeah,
like
just touching
making
all the
yeah.
buttons and
Yes.
like the little witches singing their
Yeah.
songs and stuff like that. And we're just like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And of course, it was all the, can we get this one? Can we get
Yes.
this one?
Yeah.
And as but like yeah, that's, I might have to do that after I pick them up from school today.
Yeah.
Uh
Yes,
but yeah.
you should. You should. And you should see if there's like a Spirit Halloween store near you because they like pop up this time of year. My
Yeah.
6-year-old, he's all about the Spirit Halloween. He like is like, "Has it opened yet? Can we go? Can we just
Yeah.
walk around?" I'm like, "Oh, you're so sweet. You're so sweet." But yeah, that's what we get excited about now.
Okay, I love that. Yes. Yeah, our kids are also very into all the Halloween things, especially like just like the cobwebs, and like we
Yes.
have 2 skeletons just like on our our fireplace mantle.
Yeah.
And we bought one to do an art project with, and then I just like set it up there and like propped its arm on its leg,
Oh, that's so
and
funny.
it's just like chilling up there. And my daughter brought me a scarf, and we put a scarf around his
That's
neck, and we're
funny.
like, well, I guess we're not going to do this art project now
Yes. Yes.
because this is too great.
Yeah.
And then we bought another one, so now we have two.
They needed a friend. That's why you
Yes,
bought two.
exactly, exactly. Yeah. I am also loving all of that. I am a huge spooky season person.
Yes.
I have a spooky music playlist that I listen to all year round,
Yes.
and like mid-August always feels like the most appropriate to start playing it more
Yes.
often.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I have like, I don't know, they're all out of focus, but I have like skeletons and eyeballs
I
and
love it.
like a raven's skull on on my bookshelf back there. But yeah, this is kind of going out of season, but it's something that I recently found through TikTok. Thank you, whoever posted this video. But watermelon. It's not just watermelon. I have never
Watermelon.
heard of watermelon before. Uh, but like instead of just cubing up watermelon, eating it, whatever, squeezing a little lemon juice on it, it's like a whole
Oh.
new flavor profile. It's
Yes.
amazing. The tartness with the sweet of the melon. It is my favorite thing. In the past week, we've probably gone through 3 watermelons because
Oh.
I just keep buying them and just dicing it up, and I eat probably half of it myself. But
Wow. I will
very,
have to
very
tell
good.
my husband about that. So my family, I grew up with, and I never did this because I was like, my family is weird. They would
Salt?
they w- yes. They
Okay.
would salt their watermelon slices. I'm like, well, also I should give a little bit more context. I am from India. I'm half Indian. And so my
Okay.
Indian family, everybody in my family does that. And I would be like, what is wrong with you guys? Like, why are you and they'd be like, Dolly, you are missing out. They would just like literally assault the watermelon. I'm like, "This you guys are crazy," and they love it.
Yeah,
Still, I don't
I've
understand. Yeah.
I don't either. Like I understand like the flavor profile and like the
Yeah.
savoriness
Yeah.
with that, but it's not for me. I'm
Yeah.
also not a salty person.
Yes.
I'm like little pinch of salt.
Yeah.
I love spices. I
Yes.
love, make it like if my eyes are like if I have sweat under my eyes, it is a good meal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've tried the salt on watermelons before. It wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
So you might actually like the other version of that with
Yes.
with the lemon juice
Yeah.
is my favorite thing right now. It is just anytime that I want to snack, I'm like, I think I'm gonna go have some watermelon and lemon.
Well, my husband and son, their summer project was just for fun to grow watermelon, and now we have like 3 big watermelons growing outside, and
Ooh.
so I will tell my husband about this and see, but we're not I don't want to plant the seed in anybody's mind that we are green thumb gardeners. We're not. Like, we would not survive in a post-apocalyptic world. We would die. We'd be like, What should we eat?" Like,
I
we don't
love
know
the
how to grow.
idea.
Yeah.
I love the idea of a garden.
Yeah,
I
we're
love
not
it.
good.
We have
Yeah.
tried so many
Yes.
times. Every single time. Like the only time that it somewhat worked was once that we just let the kids just take a baseball bat to our pumpkins at the
Yes.
end of the season,
Yeah.
and that spread pumpkin seeds all over the backyard. So then they started just growing the
That
next
is
year.
so smart. See, my
Yeah.
husband. Oh, okay, I'm gonna tell my husband about that because last year I'm sure listeners are gonna be like, "What do you let your kids do?" My husband was like, "Wouldn't it be funny if we climbed on the roof and threw the pumpkin off the roof?" And,
Yeah.
um, so he did that. We obviously did not let our 5-year-old do that because
Mm.
we're like, "Okay, safety," but my husband crawled on the roof, and then my son, he's like, "You can film me," and then we can watch, and my son was all about that, and he watches that, like, pumpkin throwing video all the time, but
Mhm.
maybe this year we'll smash the pumpkins instead, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Film it, put it on TikTok. You'll
Yeah.
get like millions of views. My daughter loves the like. I don't even know who it is. It's just like they just take bottles and just roll them off the roof, and then
Yes.
they crash on their driveway.
Oh.
She
So
just asks for that all the
yeah.
time, and I'm like, all right, yeah,
Okay.
sure. It's like an ASMR thing. I know, like Broken Glass, like does
Oh.
something psychologically to yourself
Oh.
to like calm you down or
I
something.
didn't know that. We
Yeah.
watch a lot of dump truck videos,
Oh
like
yeah.
garbage truck. That's where it's at in our. I don't know what it is. Garbage being
Yeah.
put in a trash can. I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
whatever.
Yeah.
So
If the garbage truck is late and
yeah,
comes by after school is out, that
yeah,
is just everyone's running outside. We're just
yes.
watching that.
Just it's amazing.
Yeah.
So
And just like they'll just get on their scooters and just like go down the sidewalk following the garbage truck the whole time.
I know.
It's great.
I'm glad other people's kids are like that because I'm like, okay, Blaze, don't be weird about it. Don't stare at them. Just like say hi,
Mhm.
thank you, and then just let
Yeah.
them be. So
Yeah, don't chase them for 4
yes,
blocks.
yeah,
It's cool.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, Dolly, this has been so much fun. Thank you for being on the show.
yeah,
I'm so glad that we got to like connect and talk one on one here.
yeah.
Um, give the people where they can follow you, where they can chat and say hey and all that.
Yeah, definitely. So, for those of you who like listening on podcasting, I have a podcast called the Systems of Workflow Magic Podcast, and new episodes come out every Monday. And it's very, I call it like mastermind like episodes where I invite a guest and they go through like a system and a workflow that they use to apply to their back end of their business so that you can go in and use that strategy as well. And then you can also find me on Instagram at Dolly DeLong Education for systems workflow education. If you're like, I just want to look at photography, then you can find me at Dolly DeLong Photo. And otherwise, if you want launching education, really just like plug with me at like on Instagram or find me on a podcast. So yeah, I hope that helps. That was really awkward.
Perfect.
I just ended that really awkwardly. Sorry.
It's good. It's good. I feel like that every time, like anytime that I do a solo episode or like recording my outros for the
Yeah.
show,
Yeah.
I'm just like, how do I end this? Like the other day, I was just like, I'm just gonna slide off the
Yeah,
screen. I don't even
bye.
know how to exit.
Yeah.
But no, that's awesome. I'll have links to all that in the show notes for everyone, so y'all can just click through the show description, go follow Dolly, go see some photos and get some good education.
Oh,
But
thank
yeah,
you.
well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really enjoyed getting to chat. This was fun.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.